I've just returned from my annual vacation to Plettenberg Bay on South Africa's magnificent garden route. Now, one of this year's most memorable discoveries for me was a beautiful yoga studio built in the fynbos overlooking a vast expanse of sea. It's called the Space Between. My wife and I went several times to yoga practices, meditations, and even a holistic intuitive treatment. I think I must have spent more time at the Space Between than on the golf course or even on the beach, which is saying something. But at the end of one of those sessions, during Shavasana, for those of you that aren't familiar with yoga, it's where you lie on your mat at the end of the practice, eyes closed, finally relaxing. And the instructor played us a mesmerizing Buddhist chant by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And as I listened to the deep resonant tones, lying on my mat on this wooden floor, inhaling the fresh breath of the sea, intoned with the smell of the fynbos, I really felt that I was in the space between heaven and earth. Quietly listening to the chant, we were invited to imagine that we were sitting beside someone else, looking down at them lying on their mat, gently breathing amidst all of this beauty and this calm and this peace. I remembered a reading about Daniel Berrigan, the great Jesuit priest who died about 6 years ago. And he used to go each week to a hospice for the terminally ill to spend some time sitting by the bed of a young boy who was totally incapacitated, physically and mentally. This young boy could only just lie there. He couldn't speak, couldn't communicate with his body or in any other way, it seemed. He couldn't express himself to those who came into his room. He just lay there mute, helpless, by all outward appearances, cut off from any possible communication. And Father Berrigan used to go there regularly to sit by this young boy's bed, to try and hear what he was saying in his silence and in his helplessness. And lying on the floor of the space between, imagining that I was Father Daniel, I vaguely began to comprehend that the way the young boy lies in the hospice bed, silent and helpless, is the way that God lies in our world. To hear what God is saying, we must learn to hear what this young boy is saying. This, I think, is an extremely useful image in helping us to understand how the power of God manifests itself in our world. God's power is in the world like that young boy. He doesn't overpower with muscle or attractiveness or brilliance or grace, as does the speed and the muscle of an Olympic athlete, the physical beauty of a young film star, or the gifted speech or rhetoric of a brilliant orator or author. These latter things, muscle, swiftness, beauty, brilliance, grace, they do reflect God's glory, but they are not the primary way that God shows His power in this world. No. God's power in this world has a very different look and a very different feel to it. So what does God's power look like? How does it feel to feel as God must often feel in this world? Well, my friends, if you have ever been overpowered physically and have been helpless in that, if you have ever been hit or slapped in the face by someone and have been powerless to defend yourself or fight back, then you have felt how God is in this world. If you have ever dreamed a dream and found that every effort you made was hopeless and that your dream could never be realized, if you have cried tears and have felt shame at your own inadequacy, then you have felt how God feels in this world. If you have ever been sick and there was no doctor or medicine that could cure you, if you have ever felt the immortality of your own body and have been hopeless at its weakness, then you have felt how God is in the world. If you've ever been shamed in your enthusiasm, not given a chance to explain yourself, if you've ever been cursed for your goodness by people who misunderstood you and were powerless to make them see things in your way, then you have felt how God is in this world. If you've ever tried to make yourself attractive to someone and were incapable of it, if you have ever loved someone and wanted desperately to somehow make him or her notice you and found yourself hopelessly unable to do so, then you have felt how God is in this world. If you've ever felt yourself aging and losing both the health and the tautness of a young body and the opportunities that come with that, and have been powerless to turn back the clock, if you've ever felt the world slipping away from you as you grow older and ever more marginalized, then you have felt how God feels in this world. If you've ever felt like a minority of one before the group hysteria of a crowd gone mad, if you've ever felt firsthand the sick evil of a gang rape, then you have felt how God is in this world, how Jesus felt on Good Friday. God never overpowers. God's power is never the power of muscle, of speed, of physical attractive brilliance or grace, which, as the contemporary expression has it, blows you away and say, yes, there is a God. The world's power tries to work that way, but God's power is more muted, more helpless, more shamed, more marginalized. But it lies at a deeper level, at the ultimate base of things, and will, in the end, I think, gently have the final say. And then our instructor softly touched the gong. God bless you.
Om